Yeah, the presentation looks good too. Yeah. All right. What's going on, Bill? Good to see you.
Lots of good stuff.
Sonia? It's not Sonia, though. It's my daughter's name. I should bring that. Somebody who loves tea, I understand, which is good. Yep. We've got some good contacts in Australia. Jason Justin, something starts with J. This guy's got the coolest brand on the face of the planet. It's called Sons of IT. He's got a leather jacket, so it's like Sons of Anarchy, which is super cool. Sam, you're with the corporate clients, right? Well, we're very happy to have you here. And today's going to be a little bit more, but we'll still fill up. We always do for lunch. We've got Chris Joseph, our Norwegian, smart guy, which is good to see you here. Then, of course, we've got them our master apprentice version of JavaScript. All right. Well, this week we were going to have our friend Jonathan House, Agile Alliance. Hey, going well. But he had to do a diagram. He's a skydiver. There's all sorts of crazy things with like squirrel students and stuff like that. So he's down in Mesquite and we'll be doing this session in June. And so I gave our friend Alton Alexander here all of 48 hours to be ready on that. Well, that's awesome. Well, while he's finishing up his presentation, I'd like to ask each of you to think to yourself a accessible sample of data that we can pull up, and we can do 2 or 3 samples. We'd like to be able to utilize his tool to visualize, basically make a video. So this might be something we can pull up a sample that's readily accessible online, or it could be something where we can find some information and go through with that. Alton is part of a group that's called Evolve Steam Guild. And what Evolve Steam Guild is a group of data scientists, big data experts, CIOs, geeks that like information. Services out there as an available merchant apprenticeship model to be able to get access to these extremely expensive, extremely smart people. So think in the world of sharing content, how there's a lot of things out there you can do, like with Upwork right now, or the company that I have, which is called Accelerate, where we can provide for you services in exchange for money, but we can more about being able to get things done. The same type of thing is being now done, which has never been done in data, where you can utilize people that are probably getting paid $250,000 a year to actually do 3 hours work a month. Or is that actually
yeah. Yeah.
And the things that the Evolve Steam Guild is doing is providing for the ability to be able to do a research piece visualization by taking a master and the apprenticeships of those that are learning how to utilize big data, data science, and everything else to be able to do things that may have taken 2 months or 2 years to parse the information. And the tools they have, and then throwing a crowd at it, you can, in essence, get things done in a very short period of time. Yeah. Is there anything that I've said there?
No, that's absolutely true. Yes. So what we're finding is, there's certainly literacy, right? And that's kind of a standard expectation. And then there's also financial literacy, right? But what we're seeing more and more is that there's this expectation and there's a need for data literacy, right? And I think we've already crossed the point where we need coding and scripting. I probably should mention that too. But so when I'm standing here before you representing many individuals in the community, like Joel mentioned, there's Evolve Steam and Nick Bagley and several others who spearhead this entire community. And I wanted to just introduce some of the things that we're doing, and then maybe how that might fit into your ecosystems eventually. And so in the broad picture, we have kind of these three different pieces within the ecosystem. First of all, the community at large, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. And to some degree, our communities might overlap, but you might not be aware that there's several meetups that go on, and even local conferences and challenges where, I'm borrowing these slides from, Nick. Not only that, we also have boot camps, and then what Joel touched on very briefly, we have the guilds, and the guilds are more formal education opportunities to bring up people who have a certain aptitude for these types of skills, to help walk through this. So we're going to go into detail on a few of these things, and then Q&A, and then I'd also like to show some of the projects that we've done that have been successful through this type of model, as well as end with my little pet project, my startup. So first and foremost, the community. So what does the community look like? We're a diverse community, but mainly we're individuals who think like Excel, Microsoft Excel, but on steroids, right? It's using statistics and databases, and more often than not, they're distributed systems. So we take hundreds of machines and tie them together so we have computing powers that rival supercomputing. They take advantage of commodity hardware. We have these meetups and these chances to explore and share ideas. We also have we have one coming up. It's called Open West. A track within that conference, which is mostly involved with open software and open development frameworks. There's also a track that's going to be focused on data analytics, data science, and I'll be speaking in that as well. And then I wanted to call out the challenges and competitions, because we've had a lot of success with companies who maybe don't know how to their companies, so we work with them and bring it as a competition, and that's how we get the community members to rally behind it and to share some of the best ideas. So, yeah, this is something that's exciting that's coming up, and we've already seen this model play out, but I wanted to touch on it real fast. And that is, as web developers, for example, some of those skill sets, they overlap with the community that I'm talking about. I'm really honing on what the data scientist community looks like in a little bit. Camp model is, it's outside of traditional education in college, community college, and so forth, but it's still a structured training. Sometimes they're nights and weekends, or they also have full-time boot camps. And missing out on some of the ones that I remember in the area are Dev Mountain and Dev Point Labs and
Iron Yard.
Yeah, so there's quite a few that have this model, and they've been very successful, especially for individuals who want to get into web development or web design. So these are like 12-week crash courses, small classrooms, and they're paid, right? I mean, $3,000 to $20,000 for the course.
And if I could interrupt real quick too, boot camps, the placement that generally occurs afterwards, because they're very topic-based for the things that are needed right now. At the low, some of the boot camps are placing their graduates at 80 to 85%, high as 98%. So the data boot camps, which are just starting, which is even more of an exclusive need, is very likely going to have the same type of high placement rates as well. Sorry for the interruption.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, you bring a very good point, because these boot camps are real nice because they're agile, right? Unlike traditional education like college, we can come in very specific skills that are needed in the workforce, right? And so as a student, that's very appealing because that gets you tooled up and ready for the job at hand, but also as an employee or even a entrepreneur, this is a great source of talent because go after the specific skills that you need and ready to transition. So I dive into the guild model. As we alluded to, we're working on a boot camp where we can specifically for the programming and the data skills that they need as data scientists. And so let me elaborate a little bit more on what that looks like. What is a data scientist? And we created a slide, but I don't know if I really can even explain it that well. There's one very good diagram.
Well, he's finding that industry out there that has anything that has to do with supply chain, technology, information gathering, inventory, need a data scientist. Anybody that is going to be having any touch points, like with you in the tea business, that might have to do with what the respective weather patterns occur with something else like that, to be able to know.
Yeah, that's what's weird about it is we're cutting into the stage where we don't know if data science is like its own thing, kind of like computer science is from geology, or is data science just kind of like across the board, like I led at the beginning, is it kind of just like English literacy? Is it just data literacy, right? So let me just go over what data science kind of looks like at a high level. We have four different types of data scientists. We have a data business person, who would be somebody who really interprets data and uses that for data-driven decision making and taking insights into action. Creative. And a data creative would take data and apply it, for example, into their marketing and craft the message and the overall presentation of a certain creative element, but using data either within those creative elements, like an infographic, or using data to really a message, right? And then we have data developers and data researchers. So a data developer would be a lot more like somebody who is more like your database person, moving large sums of data. Researcher is really hands-on, maybe not even a large data, but very statistical and machine learning. Think like the researcher is going to be your artificial intelligence expert, or those that are really applying the cutting edge, bringing that to business. And then across here, I just wanted to highlight, and I probably should have brought this up at the beginning, is these are the different categories. So as you saw, the business person is really business oriented, and then the data researcher is predominantly, if you divided up their skill sets, they're predominantly a statistician. Whereas these creatives might be handling the data a little bit more, and more of the hands-on programming. Okay. Helps you craft it in your mind. Degree, you might even find yourselves or even your counterparts or other individuals in your organization might even fit the umbrella of a data scientist, and I would say that they're more remote. And that's part of what we're finding is so exciting about the boot camps, and what I'm going to share next about the guild is because it's almost like we all need an element of training when it comes to data sort of beyond, Excel, per se. Or even just how to utilize the skills that we have readily accessible so that we can get it driven. Hop over to master apprentice idea. And the impression that this is what the core thing I was supposed to talk about, but we'll see how long it lasts. You can interject some questions as we go into this. But
and quite frankly, I think that the master apprenticeship is important to this and how it ties in, filled from how there's the business use, how it ties in is just as, if not more important.
And that's why we're going to show some examples.
Exactly.
So the Guild Master Apprentice is almost like the boot camp, except it's a little less formal and in some sense viewed as like the feeder into the boot camps or into your projects. But this model also lends itself a little bit easier for bringing on a contract or bringing on work that qualify for a full-time. So if we looked at, let's imagine that you have a project that you need within your network, and you recognize that it requires certain talent. You, of course, have the option to retain that talent on staff. And given how competitive the market is right now, and the odds are very much against you for getting lucky, per se, finding the one person that you could retain, I would suggest that that's probably a difficult option for most businesses. Even with hundreds of employees, struggle to find individuals that they need with skill sets like this that are so competitive. Alternatively, you have the option of working with an agency, right? We're on contract, and I do that as well. About half my time I spent working as a contractor and subcontracting projects to individuals, and that works nicely in a lot of scenarios. But even there, it's going to be difficult to. It's expensive, right? And you don't have to worry as much about picking just the right individual because you're an agency or a contract company. But what's your third option is to work with something like what Joel has already proven out for the business community and for several of them. But what we're presenting here is an opportunity for businesses to work with, and also in this kind of three-part realm where we have the combined masters, businesses, and the projects, and third, the apprentices, the individuals that are skilling up and learning the new tools. And so given those three combinations, there's some really awesome opportunities. So for one, if you look at it from the business perspective, a master apprentice project, effectively training and getting mutual exposure to a potential pool of individuals that they can bring on and eventually retain. From the master perspective, individuals like me get the chance to skills. You don't really know how much you want to try to teach somebody, right? And then, but it also gives us a chance to offload some of the work that now that we've done it, it's a little bit tedious, but it's not necessarily that are at our forefront or that we're most excited about. So we get to use our apprentices basically as interns. Obviously, by now, the apprentices get the real benefit of having a mentor and having that they can run. We have with on a frequent basis, and divert our attention to my website for my consulting agency. It's called Front Analytics. We, as I already mentioned, we take on projects, and I'll go into details on some of those. And we also have this apprenticeship model. And I'll start by saying that let's see, I've done some traveling, but a few weeks ago we had a few office hours, and in these office hours we sit down with basically bring a master, and then in small groups we work on projects, and sometimes it's just a master or a master just working and coding, right, and kind of just troubleshooting for a problem, and then the other individuals can participate and learn and just get exposure to what's happening. And then, as an example of what's coming up next, building out one of those distributed computers, and from the ground up, showing how we set up and edge of the hardware to be solving problems. So that's the part of what we're doing. I also have a list of let's just go down the line. I also have a list of services here that fit both our consulting work, but also the guild apprentice model, and almost exactly line up with those four. Except for the business application, which we really try to apply across all of them, right? So first and foremost, we do data-driven content creation. What that looks like is if you have some data that to build a narrative, it might be something as simple as helping tease out the story so that you have an article to post, or something that you can send to journalists, or that you can write in your social. And then on the more extreme end, content creation that I'll show at the very end, where we're automating some of the process to take it, including automated video. And then second, we do big data. So, you know, people are always talking about big data, and it's just relative, really. I mean, one person's big data is not another person's. And that's, you know, hey, I can't open this file in Excel, I need some help. And others, it's, wow, like look at what UDOT is doing. So we've done some with their data set where they are tracking every quarter of a mile, I believe it is, all along the freeway. They're measuring how many vehicles are moving, as well as weather and some other factors. And add that up for every minute or every second of every day. You can go back a year, we're talking about terabytes a day. Okay, so, and really it's just about empowering businesses data and applying it into business processes to help, you know, and move the needle. And then last, we also do advanced analytics. And so in our guild, what this looks like is helping the participate in gathering the data, and then masters experience and exposure to advanced algorithms like machine learning and artificial intelligence to apply that to the data, but also let the apprentice who maybe doesn't have the statistical understanding, that artistic exposure, right? At some level, it's kind of like a gut feel, and we so we work with them and on the projects to incorporate advanced analytics so that insight from the data on the project. So those are some examples of the service. I also listed out some of our core competencies. One of the there's two kind of competing camps, and we really just use both. One is R programming and Spark R. That has been around for about quite a bit, but it has grown in its acceptance, even in some of its limitations. For scientific computing for our statistical work. We also have the computing camp, which is data, Python. Python is definitely more of a general purpose programming language that has evolved and really been adopted by the data science community, and one that we actually teach heavily in the boot camps. All of our material is licensed from out of Washington, D.C., and that material is. I've already mentioned some of the teaching fundamentals, and I'm going to go into that. We also have dynamic content creation. The two big platforms right now that are kind of leading the pack for cluster of computers include Spark and Hadoop. Those are big names if you haven't heard of Hadoop yet. And then more and more people are not investing in purchasing kind of strap together, full desktops or something silly, or even trying to acquire and maintain their own server rooms. Instead, they're moving to the cloud. Big buzz. I'm sure there's a lot of talk about cloud, and cell phones and the commercials and stuff. But what it really means to be a scientist is that I have access to computing resources that exist in Amazon and Google, and where there are just rooms and rooms full of computers that I can get out. And so that's how I can scale up very quickly to hundreds of machines, form a proof of concept, or even do some advanced analytics, but then I can shut it down immediately after and not have to continue to worry about depreciating assets. It's kind of like we're in a sweet spot where there's a lot of demand for data opportunity, but there's a lot of data challenges. So a growing need for the talent, but there are ways now that we can help these individuals while also businesses. I have here several training materials, and I'll continue to update this on here or on one of the other pages. But this is just an example of the coursework and of course this is not the coursework for the startup soon material from my previous presentations or from our office hours. So a really good sense of what's happening. If apprenticeship idea sounds appealing either to you or somebody that you know, or on the call, if there's anybody that's interested, we have a tab for information. Application rate. This is an opportunity for us to get to know you a little bit better, and for you to express your interest in this type of skills you think that would be interesting, and then on the next page, filling out what types of projects and your availability looks like, so that we can pair you with somebody as a mentor.
Could a master apprenticeship relationship exist? It didn't have to be face to face. Is this something that can be done virtually?
No, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, all of our I've been recording and I haven't been broadcasted yet, but we easily could broadcast our office hours and our work on this. For sure. Questions? Yeah.
Kind of related to that, is it conceivable that the apprentice could be working for another company?
Oh, absolutely. Almost always. Yeah. All of them that are very ambitious, who are they're even looking for like a mid-career shift. There's quite a bit.
And the data you work with could be the data for the company.
Exactly. That's what's neat about it too. Is in this kind of overlapping Venn diagram, we're bringing together the apprentices, which are kind of the grunt work, and the masters who can apply the craft and steer the direction. But we also bring so that these sessions and these opportunities aren't really just kind of hand-waving. They're really project-based.
The beautiful thing to this is that it also serves the purpose of being able to generate revenue for all of the participants. And in theory, the groups that are getting the work done are going to be getting a value proposition in that they won't be paying as much. So I mean, it's everybody here wins. People are able to get the data done. Yes, those that are in the apprenticeship position stated versus just doing a stipend towards what they're doing at their training level, and you're able to do more with 5 projects versus 1 project because the minutia is removed.
Thanks. The apprentices ideally actually don't pay. There's an opportunity for the apprentices to in fact earn money.
Yes. Boot camps themselves, they need fee structure.
Yeah, they are.
But some of these boot camps are now coming up with environments of scholarships and stipends as well, because there's some in some situations where with hardship cases they can take care of that. But the ability for the apprenticeships and just the guilds, they could be making money from day one once they show that they've got some sort of proficiency.
So maybe I didn't highlight enough the value as a master in this, but let me be clear that I mean, it's totally obvious how an apprentice could find value in this, but we all know that recruiters are active, and especially if they're actively looking for this type of talent, there's an option to monetize there. There's also opportunities for us to monetize on projects themselves. And moving individuals from the apprenticeship into boot camp really get kind of a more formal education. Opportunities for.
Is that listed on the website, boot camp options?
Not on this website. It's actually being ran under a different entity. I
don't know that we've actually launched it.
Yeah, I don't think it's launched. But
Jason Johnson. Yeah. We'll absolutely keep you in line with it because it's still being refined. It's a different organization from website, I think.
Is it? Yeah. Well, it's either gonna. I mean, I don't want to spoil human beings, but it's either be in partnership with one of the existing boot camp offerings,
or like with the partnership accelerant just announced with Panda Labs as an example. That might be an entry level comes in. So there's probably going to be 5 or 6 different iterations of how it will be accessible.
So is interested in the boot camp option, and either scholarship or just if securing a seat in boot camp, then they should probably also start with the apprenticeship because that's how we'll know they're ready for boot camp.
That would be a good indication.
Yeah. In fact, my co-presenter, the reason why I got thrown on the bus is Nick Bagley. Well, Rob is sick, but a lot of it team teaching like we do. We also, my partner Nick Bagley is partnership as we speak about how this works to set the boot camp.
Would you say it's safe to say, Alton, that becoming more collaborative?
Yeah, you're probably the best one to answer that. I mean, if it's not obvious, the business kind of is moving towards more kind of this more collaborative, like hodgepodge versus after the industrial era when it was real, 9 to 5. Let's just put people in together and on the assembly line, right? I mean, it just doesn't fit the space well now.
Yeah, and businesses that employ 800 to 1,000 people, they're finding that they still need to be able to bring in diversified teams that can do things that they don't have a head count for.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have even happened 3 to 5 years ago.
That's not.
Yeah, it's happening. The change is happening very quickly.
Yeah. So let me explain a couple of projects that we're working on, and maybe help relate this to you as business-minded individuals. So let's see if I can draw up some ideas, because I actually don't have any slides on this one. Let's see. We have.
Do you have your engine? Could you run something through your engine?
Oh, I could. But we could get started.
So besides being a data scientist, Alton has also created an engine that takes your information, parses it, and then it'll actually make a movie, literally, out of the data, so you have the visualization. It's pretty cool.
One for that is the Johnny Cash project.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
They took all these sketches from Johnny Cash fans all around the world,
yeah.
merged all the sketches into one like short little video.
Oh yeah.
And just actually, it was a collection of data and sketches from like Cash fans in Brazil and Argentina.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's similar in some ways. If you've also been on Facebook at the end of the year, for example, you can compile all your favorite moments. It's kind of like that. Also, if you are on Google Photos, you know that it kind of tells a story if you go on vacation or something. Like, for example, I was in Valley last week, and they sent back a pretty neat little video of all of our photos, our short videos across my phone and my wife's phone. Taking that concept of automating the last mile storytelling and video into data and business. So an application of this is, for example, if you are preparing your annual or quarterly report and you have to present to your board or you have to present to investors, then it's nice to have something that's a little bit more snappy. I'll spend failing on that part in my presentation, but something that's kind of a little bit more entertaining. And we can take your data and put it into plots. So let me, in fact, just show a couple of our. For example, here, this is just a demo reel of some of the plots that we can do on data sets. And we're bringing in bar charts, or we're bringing in interactive and dynamic storytelling. But it's not, no, I mean, you have to recognize this is different than an infographic, right? Where an infographic is, of course, static, and it's kind of just throwing all your data out there. Where, again, the dashboard is just kind of throwing everything out. But a dashboard also is dynamic in the sense that you can interact with it. Right? It's almost like more like an article in the sense that we have each one of the scenes that message and convey your story in a way that is appealing to the industry. So to get one of these up and running for your own business or for your own project, what it takes is coming in here and signing up for free. There's several different options. And in fact, we're in a very early stage on this, and I should probably be careful about what I say and promise, because these prices probably won't last. In fact, we're already talking about taking away our free tier, just because it doesn't necessarily fit. And we have options for creating videos, professional paid. And as far as you have the option of, in fact, let's just go ahead and do it. But like I said, it's not going to process immediately, but when you come in here and you sign up, and take it to one of 3 choices. And for your first video, you can either choose to upload a topic. So examples of topics that we've been given recently include
Pigmentations found upon Donald Trump.
We've actually also gotten a few requests for topic-based politics. And the basic process for this kind of seems a video pulls the topic and looks at trends over time in news and in social media. Alternatively, you can choose to upload a data set where you just go and choose your file on your system, and then you upload it. And from there, the video actually tries to try to decide what is the most important and relevant information you're trying to convey, and puts it into the scenes. And then third, you can choose an article. So this is great for journalists and for individuals who have a blog per se, and they want to, I can use their article. They can first just, after they publish their article, upload it here, and then it takes more of a topic approach, and we use IBM blocks it to the topics and the sentiment within your article, and then pull those out and just kind of tell the story.
Could this have huge implications for media as well as retail, and then being able to compare media?
Oh, definitely. And there's so in addition to explaining a data set, there's also that data creative element, where maybe you have data that you want to use it in your marketing messaging. It can easily be adapted for a social media or for communicating a message or for comparing different segments.
Another question, sorry to interrupt, but is there anybody else out there right now that has this visualization?
Oh, of course, yeah, they're trying to do something similar, but let me just continue. So a lot of this is really hot off the press. I mean, there's some elements of this that I'm stating are factual, but some are maybe in progress, you could say. But the point is that one of the elements that we're working quickly on addressing is, often than not, our automated video and analysis approach doesn't hit the mark. I mean, it's not ready yet. Video, it's not ready for telling the story in a way that is appropriate for your message. Environment where online you can very easily adjust the ordering of the, and then put your own explanatory text on those. For example of data and data science hitting the ground and several aspects. We have another demo here of some of the trending, the topic example where across different topics, and then or across time, you have your counts, as well as comparing like counts. So I can also speak a little bit more to the types of projects that people come. I already mentioned UDOT and some of the proof concepts we're doing there. We've also done social sentiment. For example, with Skull Candy, one of the early sponsors of the competition, came to us and basically said, how can we better utilize our social data crossed with our customer database, right? And another great example is applying more advanced algorithms. This is problems such as if I have an amusement attraction, like a museum or so forth, and I want to know how I can respond better to the attendance levels or just different factors within my attraction or within my business. Take it to be a museum or something like a hotel or anything. And how those metrics adjust with other factors or unknowns, like weather or like holidays, something beyond just a simple calendar. Also had projects like lots of proof of concept projects where people just say, hey, sounds like you guys are on something hot. I kind of want to just be on the bandwagon. Expose their weaknesses and kind of want to express their lack of understanding of each other and use that as an opportunity to carve out a project. Those are very, we take a lot of advantage of the cloud and show them what they can do for relatively cheap. Sorry, in a relative sense, it's a good value.
The amount of value comes out of each new problem set that you're able to tackle,
Sure.
and that becomes just in essence a case study
Another
for
case study
being able to do it as well.
for us and for them. Right? So that's why you work with agents too, just because of their exposure across many different businesses. You know, and they can come with, even though you're not in manufacturing per se or finance, they could come with experience and exposure to those projects and translate those skills into your specific business need.
Awesome. We're at about 10 till, and you were concerned about having maybe 30 minutes material. And you guys are in the presence of one of the very best data scientists out there. Don't be shy about it, but what he's been doing for McCann and other organizations is pretty remarkable. Some of your business owners, and a lot of you have questions about this. I'll put you on the spot, Sophia. I mean, with what you've done before, like the medical space, can you think of a use case of better when you were doing a capital raise if you would have had access to this information?
Yeah, one of the problems, especially raising capital quite really, you know, we've been reduced to like PowerPoint presentations to get our business across, engage and make them make a choice for money into our business, right? It's all very static. It's not engaging. I would have something like this great animation showing numbers, showing the actual flow, you know, just that whole flow through it. You know, I was relying on my own chart story. Insane for me, but yeah, this would have made a huge difference as far as being able to capture them. And not only that, but then also give the difference to the company, like, okay, so these guys are like, they're on top of it, right? Their technology is hot, their concept's hot, and now, you know, their marketing is like, blow our minds away. So, yeah.
Go ahead. I just say it's like marketing, business in general. Everything is context. So data is just data. It's just data. It's in context compared to a lot of other data points and other things. Then you have something. So that's what I think. In any presentation you're doing, if you can just take data and put it in context, it'll help people see what you're trying to say.
Well, think about like penetration tests that you might be doing in the IT space, where you can see where there's packet loss. If you could take all of that information and then put it into a visual format like this, it's beyond the information you already have.
Like customers' IT problems, I put in context where they need to be going, where their end goal is. Bigger picture. If you're just focusing on one problem without showing the rest of the data, context, put it in context.
So, Bill, you're in the learning space. Can you see that with different learning, with with EdTech learning, how you can take this information as currently possible, as well as being able to tap into this type of a master apprenticeship resource that you may not have known was available to be able to crank something out? What would your thoughts be?
First of all, there's going to be an explosion in the amount of data that is being tracked in education, even more than we have now. See that across lots of areas of technology. But I know we're going to see it in education. And so, yeah, we have to be able to provide ad hoc. We want the parents to be able to come in and kind of design a little report maybe to tell them how their student is doing in the class, well at where they might need to be. We can't anticipate what everybody wants to see.
No, that's true.
And it's going to be petabytes of data.
Exactly.
we were going to be grabbing a million students, which I think is conservative.
Yeah.
And we're grabbing data every few seconds.
Yeah. Or even if it's daily, right?
Well, while they're logged on, yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I started studying, which is a really bizarre thing, and you're probably familiar with it.
Some elements.
I mean, it's still in its early stage. I think it's been around for maybe 10 years. And I see it possibly becoming a little bit bigger. Biocryptography is really about storing data on bacteria.
Yeah.
Really bizarre. But they've found a certain, I think, a strain of E. coli that can handle, I mean, astronomical amounts of data. And with us and accumulating so much data, I'm almost saying the cloud could possibly become a problem at some point, and us having to transition to or something.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. I mean, yeah, that's a whole nother avenue, right? I mean, just look at where we've come in the last 20, 40 years and try extrapolating that to where we're going to be in 40 years. Like, let's not even go there. But what you're hitting on is what I led with. That at some point we recognize there's an English literacy problem, and then there's a financial literacy problem, and then a programming literacy. And now, we have a demand within our businesses and our organizations to be able to interpret and apply data because it's growing so fast. And your kid's literally growing, but I mean, but you know what I mean, is that it's the amount of data that we have across different verticals, it one person's problem. And so we're presenting this and trying to attack this from multiple angles, but also recognizing that there's a need to train our literacy when it comes to data and what we're calling data science, but it really touches everyone.
And you look at what you do with people and what you have to tie into networks and where there's parallels and stuff like that. I mean, you have ways and charts to be able to keep track of like the different proficiencies and track records and stuff like that. But can you think of ways with what you do with your network, this type of process?
Sure. We actually try to, which is hard to do, tie a number to relationships, to business relationships, and have a way to measure those and measure their growth. We have some basic software that manages that, so to be able to put that in a way we can visualize it, where you can share with others, and where you can see better what's going on and know what is working and what you should try to make it a little bit better.
It's awesome. Well, with that, do you want to wrap up?
Yeah, before we end, I want to just give all of you something. See if we can find it real fast. So I put together this report, and you can go to frontanalytics/reports/Utah Big Data Community, or from my website. I'm not sure we'll socialize this, but optionally, you can go ahead and give me your name, your phone number, your email address, and I'll send you more goodies like this. But in this report, you're going to find out about data science opportunities in Utah, about a little bit more about the types of software and tools that we do, and opportunities that people see that really are on par with other communities in the world, that consider themselves top data science communities, like San Francisco and New York and so forth. And I propose that, and you'll see in this report that when you read it, that Utah is prime for being a leader in data science, and that we all have the opportunity to participate in that and find value for our own businesses and for ourselves and for the community. So thank you for your time, and thank you, Joel, for inviting me last minute. And I'll be available for questions afterwards.
Awesome.